Zonrush has launched over 700 products exclusively using Facebook ads for Amazon sellers. Now in this training, I'm about to go over 5 crucial lessons that we have learned along the journey. And I can tell you there has been a ton of ups and there has been a ton of downs, and we have learned so much information on what it takes to successfully launch a product that it makes me incredibly happy to share that with you guys and my YouTube family. So strap yourself in, because trust me, this is one training you're not going to want to miss. Alright, so the very first thing that I can tell you that we have for sure learned is that one of the main indicators of a successful launch is the keywords you choose to target. Now, I can't tell you how many times that we've ill-advised sellers to not launch keywords that are extremely competitive. And though you may see some success, it's very hard to compete if your product is brand new especially. So the absolute best way to maximize your launch efficiency is to choose keywords that have high search volume and low competition. And generally speaking, these keywords are going to be what's called long tail keywords. So make sure when you're launching your campaign that the keywords you target are long tail keywords and not short tail. Again, so let's break this down a little bit more, because it's one thing to say, yeah, let's do long tail keywords, but it's a whole other to execute the actual strategy. So a lot of sellers don't have the right resources, to help them find these particular keywords. And it's going to take some time to find some of these keywords, and at Zonrush we do help you find these keywords. So if you don't know what keywords you want to launch, you can reach out to us, and if we do the launch for you, part of our onboarding process is sending you our keyword recommendations that we believe have the greatest level of success, or that give you the greatest chances for success, I should say. So with that being said, you do need to use tools to aid you in this process. And one of the best keyword tools that I found is Helium 10. I will have a link for that below in the description for you guys if you want to check it out. But Helium 10 allows you to do a ton of features that will help you get an array of keywords and then filter through those keywords to find keywords that are 100% relevant to your product and are long tail. So long tail is at least 4 keywords. And so generally speaking, of the batch of keywords that you begin filtering through, find the ones that you see have the highest search volume and the lowest amount of competitors. If you find one that has high search volume but the competitors are extremely high, it's going to be very hard to rank for those keywords, because you have to think about it this way. Though the search volume may be high, if there are a ton of competitors who also have that particular keyword in their listing somewhere, then you're competing with essentially all of those sellers, to gain essential real estate on the Amazon search term. So it's best to allow long tail keywords that very many of your competitors aren't targeting, but that they do have some healthy search volume, because what that does is it actually builds. And also, here's another notion: a launch isn't necessarily 30 days make it or break it. A launch is 90 days. That's how we see launches. They're 90 days. Yes, you do need a strong push the first 30 days your listing is live, but you have to also factor in organic sales, reviews, things to that nature that propel your sales over time. And it's easier to rank for long tail keywords and allow those keywords to push your listing organically up the search bar over time, because if you choose to do a second launch in the future, then you can target, your higher volume keywords with, that are the most competitive. But it's much easier to rank for long tail keywords and then use that momentum of organic sales to help you, once you have established, maybe 10 reviews at least, to do a second launch and then target those main keywords, because you now have organic traction. And that's what's most important, actually, is that organic traction. So those long tail keywords, think of them that way. Though the sales volume might be low, it's still organic traction, and you're, over time you're going to be building these little keyword nest eggs, if you will, to push your listing up and up, higher and higher for some of those real competitive keywords. But it's much easier to find and rank long tail keywords than it is to just target, those short tail keywords that are extremely competitive. So now let's get into number two. All right, so number two, reviews help, but they're not 100% necessary. And here's why. Now, what happens when your listing goes live is your Amazon clock begins to tick. So what does this clock do? Well, it's an indicator to Amazon the relevancy of your product to the marketplace for X keywords. So put simply, Amazon needs to know that your product is relevant for the keywords in your title and in your listing in order for them to move you higher in ranking. And the only way to do that is to bring sales to your listing right out the gate in order to prove demand for your product. Now, reviews they do help, but they're not essentially absolutely critical. What's more critical is that you get an adequate amount of sales within a condensed period of time to prove to Amazon that your brand new product is, worth its weight in rankings, right? So you have to think about it this way. Amazon has no idea how good of a quality your product is. They don't know anything about your product. So just simply listing it and just letting it go, what happens is once it's live and you get your first sale, the clock begins to tick. And so if you wait to get 10 reviews or so before you begin to launch your product, it's already more than likely going to leave that 30-day cycle. And what you've accumulated in those 30 days is sales history. And that's a really strong indicator to Amazon how they're going to rank you for keywords, is your sales history. So though reviews help, I will never say that reviews are not going to help. What's more important is your actual sales velocity. And what helps products, so what people say all the time is, well, if I don't have any reviews and I launch, what's the likelihood of me sticking the landing on page one? And that there's a lot of variables that go into it, but what's one of the main indicators for that are going to be your CTR, which is your click-through rates and your conversion rates, okay? And so if a lot of people are clicking on your product once it's ranked on page one and they're converting, that's a strong indicator to Amazon that your product is relevant for that niche. And also the actual competitiveness of the niche itself. So if you enter into a niche that's extremely competitive, yes, it might be more beneficial to go after a launch once you've established some social proof. But if your niche is, not so competitive, and again, this all comes down to the quality of the product and your click-through rate, right? People need to convert once they land on your listing. If they're converting and your niche isn't too competitive, it's going to be a lot easier for you to maintain your page one rankings with 0 reviews. We see it all the time. We see it from sellers who actually take the time to differentiate their product, right? That's incredibly important, a differentiated product, and going in with, an amazing offer. So you've differentiated your product, you're bringing value to the marketplace. You're not just stamping a brand name on something, and you're having a better deal than your competitors, because initially you want to be priced a little bit lower than your premium because you want to increase your conversions to increase your reviews organically. You don't want to get reviews any sort of shady way, okay? So back to my point, reviews help, but they're not necessary. What's most important is that you bring sales, an adequate amount of sales to your listing right out the gate, because what we've seen is for listings that, let's say they do a launch 3 months into it, they've accumulated maybe 10 to 15 reviews. They have a sales history that it's really hard, not impossible. I mean, it's not impossible. Relaunches do especially well with our source of traffic, right? Since we're not an actual giveaway service, we're a Facebook ad service for Amazon sellers. And since Amazon actually encourages Facebook traffic, we're seeing relaunches, much more effective because of our source of traffic. And so, but what we have seen is that because sellers have waited too long to essentially drive sales traffic, though it's still possible to rank higher, it's going to be a little bit harder, okay? It's going to be a little bit harder if, especially from sellers that we've seen only do maybe 5 to 10 sales a month, just strictly on PPC. You're already recording sales history. So that's what I'm trying to tell you that we've learned, is that it's more important that when your listing is brand new to accumulate positive sales history, okay? And how do you measure positive and negative sales history? Well, it's pretty simple. If you look at the sales on a monthly basis for some of your top competitors, for example, how close are you matching those sales with your brand new product, right? So if you're 5% of what they're doing, then you can see how it'll be hard to launch once you've already accumulated time of doing 5% of sales. Month after month, you're only doing 10 to 15, but maybe your competitors are at 500 sales a month. So Amazon's going to be looking at the sales history, and they're going to be saying, okay, 15 sales a month, 500 sales a month, and then you do a launch, then you're going to essentially have to work off of what Amazon's already established for your product and wherever they've ranked you. And again, it's not as hard as you think it is to revive products. You just have to be wary to not use a giveaway service, because a giveaway service, for example, Amazon already knows who those accounts are. So what we've seen is that with giveaway services, the buyers aren't getting enough rank juice because the accounts are tagged. That's what we're seeing. The accounts are tagged. Whereas with Facebook ads, there's literally almost an infinite amount of audiences we can target. Super simple. So this one was a little bit longer than I wanted it to be. But this is a question we get asked a lot. Do I need 5 to 10 reviews? They will help. Yes, they will help. But again, what's most important for a brand new product is, it's almost like credit, right? You don't want to have a bad credit score. You want to have a good credit score. And no credit isn't necessarily bad or good. So if you can drive sales velocity and prove demand for your brand new product, it'll be a lot easier for you to stick the landing and move up the search term, because Amazon favors brand new products, because there's no sales history that you're fighting against. So now that we got number 2 out of the way, let's go to number 3. All right, so number 3, launches are 3 months at least in length. So if you don't have a strong launch your very first month, hope is not lost. You still have essentially 3 months to allocate reviews, allocate sales velocity for your product. And the reason why I say 3 months is because, realistically speaking, if you want to compete with some of the top Amazon sellers, you're not going to achieve fame and glory in the first 30 days. You need time to allow your listing to grow positive sales history, reviews, obviously positive reviews most importantly. And the easiest way to get positive reviews is to have a strong follow-up sequence, and you have to have a high quality product that's differentiated. And there's a whole lot of things that go into reviews and differentiating your product that I've already covered in some other videos, but just real quick off the cusp. For reviews, if you're not an expert copywriter and you don't necessarily have a background in email marketing, make your life easier and buy the products of your competitors. If you buy the products of your competitors, you'll be able to see exactly when and how often they're sending you these requests for reviews, what their subject line says, and what the content is. Use that as a base model for your review follow-up sequences. That way you can maximize the efficiency of your brand new product. And the reason why reviews are so important is because if you're not asking customers for reviews, you do need to provide value first before you ask for a review. So if you're providing value, you're going to increase your percentage of buyers who leave reviews on your product, and that will allow you to quickly grow your review base. And the more reviews you have, the heavier your product weighs in the search results, and that will allow you to gain efficient sales velocity to grow your product over time. And so, but don't get worked up after the first month if you're like, I don't have any reviews. It's a process that takes time. The top sellers all have to go through the same process. There's no magic button that you can press that you have 100 reviews, from one day to the next. And so you have to you have to pay your dues essentially and grow your product sales, grow them organically over time and focus on getting reviews. And don't charge too much for your product because you want to keep conversions high until you have at least 50 reviews. Then incrementally you can raise your price over time. But this one is just to keep a realistic timeline And that timeline is essentially 3 months, right? That 3 months you're going to be watering like a seed in the ground. You're going to be watering your listing and have it flourish, okay? And give it 3 months before you can make an adequate decision and saying, okay, this product is saturated, and you might have to move on to another product. But you need to give your product at least 3 solid months of really strong effort in order to make that decision. All right. So now let's get to number 4. All right. So number 4. Crank up your Amazon PPC campaigns. Now, this is why this is so hard for Amazon sellers to have a successful launch. And it's because along with some of their external sales that they're driving, you also need to optimize for keyword-rich, full-price purchases. And the easiest way to do that is with Amazon PPC. Now, the mind frame you want to have during your 3-month launch process is you need to focus on sales velocity at full price as opposed to profitability. Now, profitability is incredibly important. You need to be profitable with your PPC campaigns. Otherwise, you're just going to be throwing money down the drain, okay? But that's something you should really focus on after 3 months. And in doing launches, the launches that have done the absolute best are coming from sellers who have really strong Amazon PPC campaigns where they're essentially, you're putting the pedal to the metal, right? You're not keeping low bids and hoping to be more profitable. It's the sellers who are just gunning it with the PPC. They have strong PPC campaigns that are complementing their launch strategy. And those are the launches that are doing the absolute best. We're coupling the strategies together. And the ones that are struggling are the sellers who they have lower bids on PPC because they're optimizing for profitability, which I'm not saying you shouldn't, but you should look more for profitability after you end that 3-month cycle, right? After that quarter that your product is live on Amazon, then you can focus a little bit more on profitability. But for those first 90 days, those first 3 months, the name of the game needs to be sales, right? So sales, drive as many sales and grow your review base. And again, like I'm saying, you need those full price purchases from Amazon PPC to really give your listing, that oomph, if you will, to compete with some of the top dogs that are already in your niche, okay? So don't be shy with those PPC campaigns, put the pedal to the metal. Don't be too wild and, be about 100% more than the Amazon suggested bid. So a good rule of thumb, and this is for all match types, is bid about 30% above Amazon's suggested bid. 30%. You don't need to do 100% because you will be spending a ton of money depending on how competitive these keywords are. But a good rule of thumb, keep your campaigns 30% above Amazon's suggested bid across all match types, right? 30% above Amazon's suggested bids. This allows you to be more aggressive with your sales velocity, and that's what you're optimizing for, is sales velocity, right? You want to gain sales velocity, which is crucial for those first 3 months. And the easiest way to do that is to just show up more and more and more relative to your competitors, right? So 30% above Amazon suggested bid, but you need to have these campaigns with the idea that you're increasing sales velocity, and then after those 3 months, profitability, the cycle of profitability can kick in. But that's where it's very important, right? Couple the PPC strategy with your external launch strategy for maximum efficiency. All right, now let's go to the final step. All right, so the final lesson to leave you on your Amazon journey with is images are crucial. So here's something amazing that we've learned after over 700 product launches. The launches that have done the absolute best came from sellers that followed all the previous lessons I just went over to the T, but also had amazing images. And so this is where this is incredibly important, and I talk about this all the time. Your images need to produce an emotional response from the buyer. If you can't produce an emotional response from the buyer, then it's going to be very hard to compete. And essentially, if you don't trigger that emotional response, you're going to have to compete on price. And ultimately, you don't really want to compete on price, right? You want healthy margins in your Amazon business. But what's interesting is that even though we've seen some even mediocre products with not very good differentiation, Though the niche played a factor, there were niches that weren't too competitive. Some of the ones that did extremely well had amazing images, even if the differentiation was, just very, was only slight. So that's what we've learned, is that amazing product images will create an emotional response and will lead buyers to buy your product. And so do not cheap out on those products. I mean, I can't tell you, sometimes we've even turned down launches because we needed sellers. We know right away you need to improve the images. And luckily we do offer a photography service just because of that very reason. We've had a lot of sellers come to us, they're ready to launch or do some PPC, and we're looking at the product, and the background isn't white, it's bluish, and it makes it very hard for a launch to be successful, because even if we do get those results for you, ultimately you still need to convert. And what helps conversions is amazing images, right? So you need to have high quality images. And Zonrush, yes, we do offer a professional Amazon photography service for you guys, because we just know how crucial amazing images are to a successful product on Amazon. And so we've even seen some products with some of these home kits where you can do it yourself at your home, and even those, they still don't come out as good. Some are okay, but you want to have infographics, you want to have lifestyle images. You don't want to just have a basic image. Lifestyle images also improve emotional response. And again, emotional response is what you need in order to be successful on Amazon. And the easiest way to do that is just have phenomenal images, infographics that explain your product in depth, and lifestyle that show your product in action, with other humans using your product. So that's what makes this important. Images are crucial. So don't cheap out on the images, because you can have the perfect product and be incredibly differentiated, but if the images are just so-so and your competitors have amazing images, odds are, even ask yourself this question: what are you looking at when you're looking for products? It's usually the product that really captures your visual attention first, and then you go into the title and see that it has whatever it is you're looking for. So take that same idea and apply it to your products, right? You need to have stellar images, and if you can have better images, and if some of your competitors are lacking in great photography, that can be a competitive advantage for you, even if your product is only slightly different. That can be a huge opportunity for you to capitalize on if your competitors have terrible images. Okay, so to leave you with that, have amazing images. They will increase your conversions and your overall success as an Amazon seller. Now, another question I've been getting asked a lot is how to adequately create Amazon PPC campaigns that structure both low ACoS and high sales velocity, right? How to find that healthy balance. Well, in this next training video, I'm about to show you how you can both balance low ACoS and high sales velocity, and apply this method to all your Amazon PPC campaigns. So trust me, you're not going to want to miss this. And don't forget to join my private group. I'll have a link below for you. We're a very close-knit tribe, and we'd love to have you. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next video.